Welcome to this episode of the Women in Technology Spotlight. Today I have with me Lara Vafiadis. She is a sales specialist for Azure VMware Solutions at VMware. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to talk to you today. Please tell me a little bit about yourself to start us off.
Okay, so I'm based in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire in the UK. So literally this little town in the middle of what's called the Cotswolds. A little bit about me, I guess. I'm very outdoorsy. So I spend a lot of my time, if I'm not on my desk, I'm either running or hiking or cycling. I actually took a day off on Friday to go for a really nice cycle ride. I had to drive about 3 hours to actually get there, but it was all worth it because I love going cycling. So I do a lot around that. I have a very large family. I grew up on a farm. So that's probably the reason why I'm very outdoorsy. I think I'm very wild. Mm-hmm. I like the wilderness. I like kind of going and doing kind of lots of different things and lots of different adventures. Come from a Greek family, so I've got this kind of really lovely bit of family that it's always very family orientated. But obviously I'm very English, as you can hear. I went to boarding school, so I was from a very young age, I was away from my family, but it was a really good thing because I think it kind of gets you kind of growing up very, very quickly. So it was all kind of part of my growing up thing, being at boarding school from 8 until 16. So it's a very young age to be away from your family, but it was really good because I got lots of kind of different experiences. I used to go skiing with my school and all the different things. There was a farm on my school, completely crazy. Like, it was a really unusual thing. I think I have conversations with people and they're like, how did you have a farm? I was like, we used to wake up at 5 a.m. when I was about 8 or 9 before our schoolwork, and then we used to go and feed like the chickens and the pigs and the horses and go and take horses for it. So it was a very it was a very different upbringing, I think, from most. I have a very lovely set of parents who still live on our family farm, full of like dogs and chickens, and like I say, if I go back there, it's complete chaos, but it's very good fun, and that's basically me, I guess, in a nutshell.
Such an interesting background. You say your family is Greek and your parents have a farm in England?
Yes, yes. So my father is Greek, so he's only half Greek. So his dad was Greek, and then his mum was kind of English and German and lots of different other things. If you look at our lineage, we have such a mixed up kind of group of people. I think it just makes us very, very rounded people. We have a really kind of different set of heritage. But no, so my mum and my dad live on this wonderful farm in Worcestershire in the UK. So they are constantly out and about and doing lots of things. And where they live is actually a place called the Malvern Hills. And it's basically renowned for like the most beautiful hill walking and scenery, and so it is beautiful. So I do try and go back there as much as I actually can, just because I love being back there and just to walk around the farm and be out in the outdoors. When it was actually lockdown, I stayed with them for like 5 months, so I was really happy. I think lots of people and lots of my friends who live in London and all the big cities, they might not have had anywhere to go outside very much. So I actually felt a little bit spoiled, I think, when we were kind of in lockdown and we couldn't really go anywhere. But then I could go out and I could go on like a lovely walk around the farm and just be out in the kind of green in the countryside. I don't think I would have fared very well if I was in the city and I couldn't get out into the actual countryside. So that was a real lovely benefit, I think, actually, during lockdown.
Feel that because I live in the middle of Vienna and I totally felt locked in during even though, theoretically you could take your car somewhere and go out, but, you always had this feeling you should be staying at home and just walk around the block. And after a while you had seen every single street.
Oh, exactly. Like there's only so many places you can see and so many places that you can kind of walk around. So I had friends that literally lived in the center of London, and they were like, oh, it's like they couldn't, even there, I think you could go within a certain kind of area or distance to go and exercise. But then they were seeing me and I was sending them pictures of me like on the farm on a tractor or something, and they were like, oh no, you're really lucky. And I felt if I didn't have that, because I'm so used, because of my background and things, I'm so used to being outside, being locked in, like that was like the worst thing for me. So it was just it was so good.
So when you were a kid, you didn't have that much time to spend on your parents' farm since you grew up in that boarding school, right? It's also quite interesting. I think growing up in a boarding school or going to a boarding school at such a young age must have made you very self-reliant very early, right?
Yeah, I think so. My actual family, so I have three other siblings. So just being within a house of like three other children, so there was four of us, obviously makes it, you kind of have to be able to stand up for yourself. I'm number three, and I'm sure I was probably the bossiest of all of kind of all of us, apart from my older sister, obviously, because she wins everything. But I think, yeah, from when I was younger, I loved it. So even from a really young age, like I could go and do like cooking when I was 9. So I could make things. I was really happy. And I think there's a hilarious story. This is even before I was at boarding school. I've always been very able to go and talk to anyone. And I think my mother, she was on holiday, or my parents were on holiday with me. And you know the thing, if you've got children and you look down and you're reading your book and then you look up and they've gone. And we were on a beach, and my mum tells a story to everyone that she actually meets. And she said, like, I was reading my book, and then I looked up, and my 2 or 3 year old little girl had just disappeared. So she was looking in the sea, she was looking behind, she was running up and down the beach, and she couldn't find me anywhere. And then she stopped a man and went, "Oh, I've just seen a little girl sat at the bar. She's just talking to someone." So she kind of went, "What?" So she found me, and I think I was about 2.5 or 3, sat at the bar chatting to the barman when I was like 3, obviously completely unaware that I'd been sending my mother crazy. But I think that's it. I've always really liked talking to all these different people and kind of having these connections and relationships with everyone all over the world. So even from then, yeah, I was obviously out doing things I really shouldn't have been doing, sending my parents crazy, obviously. But yeah.
So I'm wondering, your parents had a farm, you grew up in a boarding school that had a farm, and now you're in IT. What happened?
I know, it's really strange when I think about it. I think from when I was younger, I was like riding horses and doing all these things, but from that like kind of group. So I went to school. I loved school, but I was very much on the sporty side of school. So sport and art. I'm sure my teachers now, if they saw me, would say I had great potential, but I was more focused on my sport and my art. So I loved it. So I didn't actually go to university. I decided that when I did my GCSEs and my A levels within the UK, I did like history and art and things. I thought actually I'd probably go to university and I'd do fine arts. It's not something that I didn't think was really going to help me. I think I would have had a lovely time, and loved being at university and kind of meeting all these different people. But I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So I actually decided to go and get my yacht master. So this is an RYA qualification, and it's almost what I class as my degree, because it was obviously so much kind of learning that I had to put into it. I'd sailed from a very young age. And I thought, actually, if I do something that gives me skills that I can go and get a job for, and that's going to have me for the kind of the rest of my life, and I'm going to be sailing and doing all these amazing things, that's what I did. So I basically went off at a really young age. I was like 19 or 20, and went and got my yacht skipper's license. So there's a lot of different tests and exams you have to do. There's lots of miles that you have to do. I've sailed across the Atlantic on numerous times, and all these things that are kind of really important for kind of being a sailor. So I was skippering yachts at 21. So for a really young, I think when a young girl, and if you think of a yacht skipper, everyone's got this image of like an old man with a beard. Exactly. That's what people think of. So it's I think it was quite funny when people met me. They were like, "You're really young. should you be in charge of my boat," kind of thing. So that's what I did, and I loved it. I did it for quite a few years in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, a little bit on the south coast of the UK as well. But then I came back and I went into just some kind of sales jobs for a few years, and then I had a friend that used to work at Cisco. So he said, "Oh, actually, you're really personable. You're really good. Like you like learning about things." And it's true. So my dad works in tech. My family work in tech. They have a whole different business attached from the farm. And he just thought, actually, this could be a really, really good move for you if you enjoy learning about all these things. So I did. So I went off and worked. I was just like an account manager at Cisco, and I loved it. I loved all the learning, and it was all the things that like all the cool kind of technology side of it. I didn't think I'd be that into it, but I become a bit of like I call myself like a closet geek, because I love learning about all these new things. But when people meet me, they're like, I'm sure she doesn't, but it's true. I love like everything. I've got all my alerts set up for all the news things that I want to read about and all the different kind of technology, like news articles that kind of come up. So I did that. So it's been a really roundabout way that I've come into tech. And I came in probably quite late in my career. So I started when I was 27, I think, at Cisco. So 3.5 years later, or 4 years later, I'm in VMware now. So it's a roundabout.
Yeah, that's such an interesting journey, actually, but it shows very, very well that what you need is a personal character, communication skills, and the will to learn new stuff. And that's such a great illustration of what I've been saying for a long time, that it's not necessary that you have to been in tech since you were 3 or 4 years old, but you have to have this will to learn new stuff and also be approachable, talk to people, and communication, in my opinion, is one of the most important skills in tech at the moment. So yeah.
It's true. I think it's really true. I think it's kind of knowing that you have to listen to your customers and what they're saying, and just kind of take everything on board. You don't have to be the most up-to-date person on all of the tech things that are kind of going on just because I want to learn everything. But it's just being able to kind of talk to anybody, talk to any level of kind of person within any kind of organization is a really important skill. So yeah, I think when I talk to people, and I do a lot of it's kind of virtual work experience with a company in the UK. So we did lots of different kind of girls' schools, and everyone I spoke to, all these kind of young girls, and they were 14 to 16, I think it was. And we were doing this over the past few months during the last school year. And I said, it's really important for you guys to understand, because I didn't come into it. And actually, when I left school, I didn't go, I'm going to go and work in tech. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, it was the fact that I've now made my way here. I like the fact that I've had this kind of very slightly convoluted journey, but it has made me someone that's probably quite rounded in all the different life experience things I have. So the fact that someone doesn't want to go to university when they're 16, they could go off and do anything else. Like, it's all learning. It's all really important for just growing up and being that kind of very well-rounded person. So I'm happy that I've got here eventually.
I think this is just a good example of what David Epstein calls range. And that's actually very important to understand, that it's more that having different backgrounds and bringing them together can make you much more successful than just, rushing to one goal straight away.
No, it's true.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, you mentioned initially that you're a very outdoorsy person, you have a yacht master, you like to ride your bike, and I know that you haven't given up on all that sporty things, and you're currently working on this really amazing initiative. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So next year, so 2022, I'm taking part in the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge. So this is deemed as the world's toughest rowing race. So the race in itself is 3,000 miles from Gomera in the Canary Islands. You're just shaking your head. I love it. And then to Antigua in the Caribbean. So it's a wonderful place to finish. I'm very excited. But so the main thing is I will be doing this solo. So this is a race that's been going across for maybe 6 or 7 years as an official race. People have probably been doing this for about 20 years. But actually, all through that, there's actually more people that have climbed Everest than have ever actually rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, specifically solo. So because I'm doing it solo, there's a very small amount of women that have ever done it. So I'll be one of about 20 or 21 women to ever complete the challenge. So it's a very select group, probably slightly crazy, because you do have to be crazy to put yourself in this kind of position, being alone. So the amount it'll take me, so obviously 3,000 miles, I'm hoping to do it in about 45 to 50 days. So this is 45 to 50 days of almost constant rowing. So this is 18 hours a day, interdispersed with maybe 2 hours sleeping. I'll then get a kind of a break just to kind of eat and generally keep myself clean, keep the boat clean. But it's constant, and it's a really a wild kind of environment to put like myself in alone. I've obviously, like I said before, I've done a lot of sailing. So I've sailed across the Atlantic, but I'm sailing across on 45, 50-foot yachts where I've got a lovely bed and a shower and a cooker and all these things. But in my boat, it's about 19 foot long. I have one cabin that I can kind of sleep in. I'm 5'8". I can just about stretch out, but I can't really. I'll have the other cabin at the end. I will carry all of my food, all of my water. It's completely unsupported, so there's no one that's going to come and give me anything else, and they won't kind of come and give me more food or more water. It's basically once I leave La Gomera, that's it. So I have to then, on my own, then obviously guide this rowing boat to Antigua.
I have questions.
I'm sure you do.
Okay, when you initially said you're rowing alone, I was imagining someone close by, you know, looking after you, because it sounds really scary. I mean, really. What happens if you run out of water or you have an accident? What happens?
So the water thing, I actually have on my boat what's called a water maker. So it's like a desalinator. So then I take on sea water. It literally then creates me drinkable water that I can then drink. I have emergency water that I then carry in kind of the ballast of my boat. But if I have an accident or if I have any problems, so I kind of have to make the decision that if I'm able to carry on, then I will just carry on. And if there's a problem that I can fix with the boat, then I will have all of the tools on board. I'll have extra kits of everything that I think might break. Something with me, like if I hurt myself, again, I kind of have to make the decision, do I carry on or do I not? If anyone, so like a lot of my friends will say, so I do these kind of silly things sometimes where I like to put myself in positions where I don't give up. I have no give up button. Like it's a really odd thing. And I think when I talk to people, they're like, do you not just stop? And I was like, I can't stop. Like once I set myself a goal, especially this, I would have to be in a very, very sorry state to not carry on. Even if it's pain. I was told actually, is it discomfort or is it distress? So this is the thing that I think about every day. Like if I'm just uncomfortable, you can be uncomfortable for a very long time. Yeah. Like it's fine. You can be sat in an awkward position. If you're actually in distress, that's a completely different kind of feeling, and it's a really different way of thinking as well. So if I can be uncomfortable for 45 days to 50 days, that's fine in my mind. But yeah, it's all these kind of little things that I kind of have to mentally prepare for, because obviously I live alone in Cheltenham, so I'm used to kind of being alone, apart from being in lockdown with my family. But I kind of moved alone, so that the alone bit is not the thing that's kind of probably going to get me, because I like my own company. I'm quite happy. I can kind of have podcasts on and music and all these things. But just being out in the ocean, I know I'm going to love it, because you literally get surrounded by wildlife. So you get dolphins, whales, like you get birds flying, and you'll have a bird land on your boat, and it's wonderful. It's a really amazing environment to actually be in. But it's a really strange feeling. So it's that mental preparation that I've almost put more effort into at the moment than my actual training. I train anyway, like I go to the gym, I cycle, I row, all of these things. But it's a really important aspect of it, is knowing that I'm mentally prepared for it as much as I can be anyway.
You already touched on training. How do you train for 45 days of rowing? I mean, this is a very specific strain on the body, on your hands, on your shoulders, on your back. So how do you train for that?
So the main thing at the moment, so I'm doing this race next year, so I'm about 13 months out from either having my boat shipped off to the Canary Islands. So I will as of next year, so as of February, March next year, I will then be actually in my ocean rowing boat, and I can row around the British coastline and everything. But the training aspect is really to do with injury prevention, which I'm a terrible one for. Like I say, I like to push myself until I break. So this is the only way my head it kind of works. But it's all to do with keeping yourself at a level of fitness that you can just carry on. So it's either doing something so you can either sit on a rowing machine or an erg for 4 to 8 hours just in my house. So I have a rowing machine in my house. I go for very long cycle rides, and it's all these things that kind of just, you need to get into a mindset of just being able to do something for a very long time. Strangely, I think you could probably, even if you haven't done much rowing preparation, you'd probably break yourself, but the human body is incredible and it just adapts. But it's kind of getting into a position where you know that your body is strong enough in the sense that you're not going to get all these injuries that might then hinder you. My goal is actually to try and break the current world record for it. So I need to ensure that I'm really, really, really hot on my, just generally knowing that my body can kind of cope with it. Because you do, I think you're right, your hands get completely ruined. Your hair, so I've got very long hair, it's very much a case of my hair will just go up in a bun and then not move. But however long. Obviously the sun, you've got the sun constantly beating down on you. So it's all of these things, and you will probably, I'll end up in Antigua looking very tanned, but very bedraggled and probably slightly bruised and everything. So, but it's kind of it's kind of part of it. It's kind of being out into a situation where you haven't got, like, I won't have my phone, I won't have Netflix, I won't have all of these things that I think people have kind of got used to. You're completely alone in this really, really wild environment. And that's what's actually really attractive for me. I think even now, with all the preparation I have to do, all the sponsorship I have to gain, I almost want the road to come quicker because I'm excited about being in that really different environment. But then I know how much work I have to do, so I tell myself off immediately, going, no, don't. So,
yeah. You already talked about this a little bit, about the fact that you will need to prepare yourself much more mentally than physically. And I wonder if the fact that you're doing this for charity helps with the mindset. Can you talk a bit about the charity aspect?
Yeah, no, so it does, absolutely. I think so. The two charities, I have two charities that I'm raising money for. One is called Plan UK, which is part of Plan International. Plan International is like a global children's rights charity. So this is there we go. So it's a very big charity. Yeah. So I'm helping, or kind of raising money for the UK part of it. Obviously it goes to pretty much all of it anyway. Then the second charity is called Our Only World. So Our Only World is a small UK charity focused on the fight against marine plastic pollution, which again is a really hot topic at the moment. I think with everything going on, and the fact that we've obviously had this, 2021 is a massive year for kind of climate change policies and everything to do with that. So it's a really, really hot thing at the moment. So it's that's great. They actually focus on reducing the amount of single-use plastic in the world. So they have these incredible little like water fountains, obviously around the beaches. Rather than taking lots and lots of water bottles, they then set up these water fountains across the Cornish coastline, and you can go and fill up your water with fresh water. It's a really simple thing, but it's really, really helped the fact that you don't get all of this pollution. And then it's kind of doing beach cleanups. So it's amazing when you walk along the British coastline, even when you're out in the ocean around it, the amount of plastic that's just floating around in the water. It's kind of, it's almost upsetting when you see it all, and you've got all the kind of fishing nets, you've got plastic bottles, just the odd things that you tend to find. So they focus on that, which is a really important point, just for me being a sailor and being a very much kind of environmentalist, outdoorsy person. So I think having those two charities, not just supporting me, but knowing that I'm raising awareness for them, raising funds for them, it is a push. I think it kind of helps me in a sense that I'm not just doing this for my own gratification, because I'm not. It's like I'm doing it to ensure that I'm helping these two incredible charities, raising funds for them and kind of raising awareness for them. I don't think anyone would have heard of Our Only World just from kind of like not it being on my kind of Instagram, and I'm posting about it on all of my social media as well. So it helps as like a little kind of incentive to me, knowing that I'm helping other people as well. So yeah, you're right.
So such an amazing thing to do. I can't imagine rowing across the ocean alone for 45 days, but I can feel that you are the right person to do so. You have this self-reliancy, and you have this drive to do something outstanding, I feel. So I am very sure you will actually break the world record. Just to put
I hope so. On you. But it's one of those things, because I have to tell myself, and I'm very like and I've heard this from my dad before. He's like, even just doing it is impressive, but because of the way my brain works, if I don't break the record, I know a part of me in my brain will be like, oh, you're gonna have to go and do it again. Genuinely, I will. I will have to do it. It's like when I do something, if I do like a run or a race or a cycle, if I don't get the time that I want to do it in, my it's like, no, sorry, you have to go and do that again. Once you've done it, you can then stop. So I know there's a part of me that's going to go, I'm going to have to go back if I don't break it. It's one of those things that's now just ingrained in my head, I think.
I love that. And I'm thinking, if you were to give recommendations to young women heading out on a journey, on an adventure, on a career journey, what would you tell them? I mean, you're such a go-getter as a person, but what is it that makes it easy for you to actually go out and do whatever you like and what you want to do?
So I think I was I probably have to give a little bit of credit to my parents, because I was very much, we were almost told from a very young age, we don't have to go and do anything specifically, just do what you really love to do. Because I think if you push people in a certain direction, they might get there, but they won't be internally it won't give them as much joy as I did when I go sailing. Yeah. So when obviously with my dad being he's a very big sailor, and my mum very much, she will just go and do anything that she's kind of, if it's something she really wants to do. I have that, I think I just have that in me, I think, to kind of go, right, I want to go and do this. And I have very supportive parents that will obviously support me in that kind of mindset, I think. So I think when I think about being, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, and kind of going, actually, I could have done things, I was like, I wouldn't have done anything differently at all. But also I was just really happy that I stuck with this do what you love mantra, which I think it can get lost sometimes. I think there's so much pressure, especially around children, to kind of figure out, or young girls and young adults, to really figure out what they really want to do, when really there shouldn't be that kind of innate amount of pressure. I didn't have it, thankfully, and I think that's what's made me this kind of, I've done a lot of things, I've had a lot of life experience, and it's meant that I think I'm confident in myself, but I'm also confident in what I think I can achieve. So I don't have anything that makes me go, I can't do that. I'm very much I can do that. But again, I think it's kind of from having those kind of supportive parents when I was younger to kind of push me in that way, to kind of go, no, you can just do whatever you want. So I think that's what it is. It's finding something you're passionate about, even if you really love art, absolutely go and just do art. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop you. You don't need to, obviously we all need lawyers and doctors and things, but obviously people will find a passion in that. People have passions in all of these different things. So don't feel like there's a pressure that they have to go and do something they think they have to do. So that would be my kind of, I know, top tip, I think.
It's actually perfect. I mean, it encompasses so many things that I also believe that you should try as many things as possible, because only when you try them, you can actually find out if it's something that suits you. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, your parents are obviously amazing role models, and you are a role model, I'm sure, to other women, to show that it makes sense to find something you're passionate about and try until you land on something that works for you. So
it's
thank
true.
you for actually coming here and telling us this amazing story and your background. It was wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much.
No, bless you. It's been really, really lovely. I think I can talk about the rowing for ages, but it's just really love to just to have a nice chat, I think, and not have to, I'm not thinking about work for like half an hour. So it's been really, really lovely. Thank you.